Good afternoon, or no, we're 10 minutes from the afternoon, so good morning. What have you got for us?
Yeah, good morning. Lots happening. Shall we start with Armando Broja? We spoke about him last week and the prospect that he may leave Chelsea. Still lots of Premier League interest, the likes of Wolverhampton Wanderers, West Ham, who we're going to talk about in a bit as well, and Fulham. The fee that I've been given in terms of the level of money that Chelsea want to recoup is £35 million. Of course, there was talk of 50 to 60 million for Broja last week. That always seemed a little bit fanciful. But I'm just not sure any of those clubs are necessarily going to put £35 million on the table in this transfer window. What we could see happen is maybe a loan until the end of the season with an obligation to buy. I still think it may be dependent on Chelsea bringing in a reinforcement of their own. But Armando Broja possibly could be one of the names to keep an eye on between now and the end of the window.
I think Alex is right, Simon. Who is anybody out there going to spend 35 mil at this time in a January window with days to go?
Depends what their need is, isn't it? I mean, like Alex said, they were spinning it around at 50, 60 million quid. He looked a really good player at Southampton.
Yeah.
I think no one looks a particularly good player at Chelsea right now, do they?
No, not really. Mr. Souness to my left knows Newcastle United inside out. Can I ask you straight, Alex? Have you got a latest on the Kieran Trippier situation? I mean, how close is he to joining Kane and Dyer at Bayern?
Well, I think he's closer than some would lead you to believe. Obviously, the message coming out of Newcastle is that Kieran Trippier isn't a player they want to lose this month at any cost. I'm not sure that's completely true. I think Trippier would be keen to go to Bavaria, and why not? He'd be playing Champions League football in the second half of the season, maybe challenging for a Bundesliga title. As you say, already a couple of players that he knows in that dressing room from his England days with Harry Kane and Eric Dyer. And Simon and Graeme have been in the game long enough to know that a team of the stature of Bayern Munich, they don't even make an approach to Newcastle unless they've been given significant encouragement from Trippier's camp that he's open to the move. And we know that Newcastle, because of their financial issues, because they want to stay on the right side of the profit and sustainability rules, they are open to offers for their players. It's why Atletico Madrid made a tentative inquiry for Callum Wilson. It's why we're talking about the prospect of Miguel Almiron heading out to Saudi Arabia. I think it's going to be a really interesting end to the window at St James's Park.
What's your take on it, Graeme? It seems like Germany is the place for some of the top England players. In your day, it was Italy, with you, Trevor Francis, David Platt.
Well, I think in this case, I think the catalyst would be Harry Kane. Obviously, the manager as well has worked in England, so you'll know the qualities of Trippier. He's a really good footballer, and if that's a need, I think the player will definitely want to go. I think he's served his purpose there. He'd be a bit of a magnet for other people going there. He was an England player. I think he's served his purpose. He's done a great job for them. And he will see the chance to join one of the biggest clubs in the world and a team where you've got a real chance of winning trophies. What a great way to finish your career.
And you're talking about Almiron to Saudi Arabia, are you, Alex?
Yeah, Ben Jacobs, TalkSPORT Saudi correspondent, usually very well informed with matters in that part of the world. He tells us this morning that he's got it on good authority. Al Shabab, who were, of course, linked with Jose Mourinho at one stage, that's not going to happen now. They have tentatively agreed a fee with Newcastle for Almiron, or provisionally agreed a fee, I should say. Remains to be seen if the player wants to make that move at this moment in time. But again, I think he's somebody that Newcastle, if the sums add up, they could well cash in on to help them strengthen their own squad between now and the end of the window, because I think certainly in that central midfield area, with Tonali unavailable for the rest of the season, looks like Joe Linton will miss pretty much the rest of the season as well. They are light in that area, and as we've been speaking about for the last couple of weeks, they don't necessarily at this moment in time have the funds to strengthen.
I want to crack on because we've got a couple of more items to get through. Premier League interest, we understand, in a Swedish teenager this lunchtime.
Yeah, keep an eye on this one. 17-year-old Lucas Bergvall, certainly a name to be aware of. He plays for Djurgården at the moment over in Sweden. I'm told he's touring Barcelona's training ground today, so they're certainly in the mix. Manchester City, I think, have an interest, but maybe more for the summer than now. And Wolverhampton Wanderers as well, I know, are tracking this kid, so he could be certainly a big-name star in the future.
OK, and Villa, rejecting a West Ham approach or a bid or what?
Yeah, John Duran is a player that West Ham would be interested in signing. Obviously, Danny Ings actually did his chance of staying at West Ham. No harm with arguably his best performance for the club yesterday in that very incident-packed draw at Sheffield United, but they're still looking to bring in a number 9. At the moment, Unai Emery not keen on this one, because if Ollie Watkins was to pick up an injury or be unavailable for any prolonged period of time, Duran is really their only backup option. But as a player, if you know you're only going to be on the bench at Aston Villa, if Watkins is fit, I wonder if he might be attracted to try and push for that move to West Ham.
Alex, thank you very much indeed. That was a look at the latest transfer updates with Intuit QuickBooks. Simon, it's obvious. It's January. It's obvious. FFP, it's obvious clubs are watching what they can spend.
Well, it must be, mustn't it? I mean, we've not seen a transfer, I mean, to my delight, I might add, that it's at this stage. But we've not seen a transfer window as quiet as this in January. I mean, last year, what did they spend? 800 million? Yeah?
Yeah.
It's going to be a fraction of that. And that shows you, for whatever reason, and I do think financial fair play is a good thing, I just don't think they've got it quite right yet. I think it's too much of a blunt instrument and needs to be a bit more sophisticated, is having an effect. And also, if you look at the statistics, there is a belief that wages are being driven down, which also is a good thing, because it means clubs are a bit more sustainable and people can make sensible decisions rather than ridiculous decisions. But yeah, clearly, financial fair play and all that's going around it is beginning to have consequences.
Okay, Kieran Trippier, that seems to be developing from what Alex is saying, that Trippier could be the next one to join Bayern Munich, because Kane and Dyer, of course, already there.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. TalkSPORT.